Hey YouTube, it's Jaden, and in this video we are going to be doing an updated deck profile once again on my Thunder Empire deck. This is now updated with the support from Solar Strife that I never got. I think it's Solar Strife, I can't remember the name of the set to be honest with you. But in testing, the deck is now even better, plus with the new restriction list, now no longer having Tomo Notion as a one of in the deck anymore. The deck does so much better and it is so much more consistent, and I love this deck. It is still one of easily my second favorite deck to play. You should know the first if you've watched any of my Buddy Fight content. So anyway, let's just jump straight into this video. So for the Buddy Monster, it is still the same as it was when I went to Texas. It's Misfiring Demon Globes. Globes is just so synonymous with the deck. He just gets your plays going. You can call him out. You get a soul charge and a draw, and he can give a crit away. He's just synonymous with the deck. He's been there since day one, so having him as the buddy just makes sense. And calling him and his call cost being free is pretty much when you call him, you just instantly gain the life. So he's a good card. So he's just the ideal buddy for this deck for me. So, I still play 4 copies of Overturn Battleship Satsuki G. I still love the Satsuki variant, guys. I can't stress to you how much I love the Satsuki variant. She's just too good. A 12,000 power 3 crit weapon with Penetrate is just too damn good. Plus her Overturn wins games. It literally wins games, guys. Is just, and you can use it on your opponent's turn defensively, and then that can lead to you winning a game, which happened in Texas for me. Well, last time I went to Texas, but this card is so underappreciated. There's so many people now that play the deck that just say the armor variant's better. The armor variant's good, I'm not saying it's not, but I just prefer the Satsuki variant. It is just so much better and consistent for me. So if you've never tried Satsuki, I think most Thunder Empire players by now have figured out how they like the deck, but Satsuki G to me is just too good not to play. So we have our new Boyo bots. This is Sovereign Warlord, Sovereign War Dragon Lord bots the Infinity. He is a size 2 monster with 13,000 power, 2 crits, and 6k defense. He has a call cost of 2 gauge. During your turn, he cannot be destroyed. When he attacks, if there are 3 or more different worlds in your drop zone, he gets triple attack. Then if there are 5 or more in the drop zone, he'll get triple attack, plus every time he attacks, you destroy a monster on your opponent's side of the field. Then, if you have 7 or more, you'll not only get triple attack, destroy a monster on your opponent's field every time he attacks, he will also deal 2 burn damage to your opponent every time he attacks, which is amazing. Which means just when he swings those 3 times, he's dealing 6 damage, which means effectively he can OTK by himself if you can stack your drop zone with 7 different worlds. And I do play the 7 different worlds, and this deck is now turboed more towards getting at least those 7 in there as quick as possible, dropping bots and causing damage. So very, very good card. Plus having 13,000 power is very, very, very good. It's needed right now for some of the matchups this deck will see. We play our 4 globes, obviously. Already covered him. I only play 3 copies of Tomo Notion. Tomo Notion is still an amazing card, and yes, you still... I won't begrudge you for running him at 4. Some people might even go back to using him as their buddy monster just because people loved him so much, and that's fine. And playing 4, I won't begrudge you of it because this card is really amazing. He helps you search out the pieces you need. But I simply just was making room for more pieces and more card choices. But we all know what he does when another Thunder Empire monster enters the board. When he's in play, you get to look at the top 3 for any Thunder Empire you want, which essentially means you look at the top 3 cards and add any of the 3 to your hand. So that is really, really, really good. And not having him at 1 anymore it helps the deck tremendously. And then we play 3 Operative Sphere. Operative Sphere, just another good card. It's a resource card. When you when he enters the field, you put the top card of your deck into the gauge and you gain a life. And then if there are 2 worlds on your field, you draw a card as well. So just these 3 together in my original Thunder Empire deck that I took the year the time I went to Texas and I made top 8, and then I got screwed out of it because they literally dicked around for 3.5 hours, and I couldn't play top 8 with my teammates because I had to catch my flight. I'll never forgive Bushy Road for that. I was playing all 3 of these at 4, and that it was just I can totally see playing them both at 4 again if you want. I was just wanting to make room for more things. And I think there's a few card choices that make the deck even a little faster, so you can cut one of each. Or even if you wanted to cut a globes, I can see that too. So it's literally just preference. And I challenge you to test all your ideas. 2 copies of Furious Bots SD. Simple, another resource card. When he enters play, if you have another Thunder Empire monster on the field, you gauge 2 and gain a life. So 2 copies of Wiggly the Phantasmagoric. Still just an amazing card. When he enters play, he's like Armageddon Knight from Yu-Gi-Oh! You can search out a monster from your deck and send it to the drop zone, and then whatever worlds are listed on that card, he is treated as those worlds plus Dragon World for the turn. And if there are 3 or more different worlds in the drop zone, he gets plus 3k and plus 1 crit, so he becomes a 6k 2 crit size 1, which is very good. Usually the monster that you're going to send with him is your Miseria, so you can send him and he counts as Dragon Dungeon Legend. So unless you plan on using your Miseria, that's why he's in the deck. So, and then the one, obviously the one Miseria. Miseria is still a very good card. Size 3, 8,000 power, 2 crit, 6k defense. Has a Soul Guard, double attack, and lifelink 2. Overturn ability, you pay 2 gauge, I think. Pay 2 gauge, and you nullify the abilities of everything on the field, and everything from the deck, hand, gauge, and drop zone return to the deck for both players, and the only card that remains in play on the board is Miseria. And then you both draw 6 cards and gauge 2. So he essentially causes a game reset, which could be useful in certain situations. 1 copy of Vagrant Dragons Seimaru. When he enters play, gauge 1, and then if there's 2 or more different worlds on the field, bounce one of your opponent's monsters to their hand. So he's in here just for another option. He can help remove a Soul Guard. And then just 1 Yellow Bat, just because he is still a Dungeon World. He is still here for the name. But I played 3 in my last deck profile, but since you have Tomonoshin back and some other cards, you don't need to necessarily have multiple of these in your deck, even though playing 2 to 3 is still okay, but having just the 1 is still good. 4 copies of Black Sand Castle. This is just our standard set spell for Thunder Empire. It prevents our monsters from being bounced to our hand by our opponent, and if you were to take damage, you can send this to the drop zone and reduce that by 3. And you can have multiples of them set. There have been times where I've had 4 set in one game, and I can literally just use them as mini shields. So, 1 new card, and this card is absolutely bonkers. It's Warlords Sword Release. This card is absolutely amazing for Thunder Empire, and it's the card that we needed to continue to hang with the current meta. You pay 1 gauge and 2 life, and you draw 1 card for every world that's represented on your field. So you can use this to plus 3, 4. It is amazing, and it helps you get the pieces you need, and it is an amazing card. I do have 4, but I think 3 is enough. So it is definitely a card that you should pick a play set up for. I'm not saying I don't ever see the day where I might play 4, but 3 right now is definitely okay. Playing 4 is okay too, but like I said, I just want to have room for other things. 3 copies of Red Thunder Emperor's Awakening. Um, very, very good card. This lets you gauge 1 and gain a life. Then if you have 3 or more different worlds in your drop zone, you may put any card from your drop zone back to your hand. And if you have 6 or more, you also draw a card. So, very, very good card. 3 Jupiter Barrier. You may cast this when you're being attacked. Nullifies the attack. If you have a monster on your field with a soul, you may remove a soul from that monster to gauge 1, gain a life, and draw a card. You use this in tandem with your Satsuki to help put dead cards that are in her soul into the drop zone to gain more cards and gauge and life. Only 2 copies of Demon Lord's Rampage Dragon Blast now. I was playing 3 in my last one, but because of Warlords Sword release, you can cut this down. You could even possibly cut this to 1 maybe, which I have also considered. But this is still an amazing card. You pay 2 gauge to destroy every monster on your opponent's field and then draw 1 card for every card that you destroyed, which includes monsters that have Soul Guard and survive. So if they have 1 soul, you play this and they have to use their Soul Guard to stay in play. That still counts, so keep that in mind. 2 copies of Offerings for the Thunder Emperor. Very good card. This is either a gauge 3 or plus 3 life, and it's not once per turn. So if you happen to have both these in your hand, you can just go gauge 6 or gain 6 life or 3/3. So 2 copies of Thunder X Goodbye. Very, very good card. You can only cast this on your opponent's turn. You pay 1 gauge and return 1 of your monsters to your hand, and then you bounce a monster on your opponent's field. Keep in mind that yep, just triple checking. I was pretty sure I was positive, correct, but this only prevents your opponent from bouncing your monsters. You can still bounce your own monsters with this, and Thunder X Goodbye is an amazing card. So I definitely advise you to try it out. You can use it to bounce back one of your globes or Tomonotions and reuse their ability on your next turn, or you can use it to bounce bots to your hand. I mean, there's a lot you can do with it. 2 copies of Demon Slay Battle Aura Bind. Very good card. Danger World and Dragon World Dual World card. You pay a life, and then whatever the critical of your weapon is, which the only one we play is Satsuki, so it's 3, you can rest 1 card on your opponent's field that has 3 crit or less. So you can use this to rest some pretty big threats. 1 copy of the Fighter's Oath. This is still only at 1, and I can't necessarily blame them. It is an amazing card. Gauge 1 and gain 1 life for every different world on the field. 1 copy of World Linking Key, the first Drago Uno. If you have 5 worlds in your drop zone, you may activate this, and if you do, you discard your hand and draw 6 cards, and you send all cards on your field to the drop zone, and you cannot take damage for the rest of that turn. But if you do not win on your following turn, you lose the game. So you can use this to save yourself. You can also use it in the mirror match. So if, say, you're about to finish off your opponent in the mirror match and they drop this on your very next turn, if you drop it right back, they instantly lose. So it is a good card and definitely should be played. And then 2 copies of Ultibuster. It is our impact. It is an amazing card. It is very, very even easier to get off now. This card initially costs 12 gauge to activate, but for every attack you do on your turn, you subtract 1 gauge cost. Then you must have bots on the field, and you must have conducted at least 4 attacks during that turn. And if all those conditions are met, and you pay the correct gauge cost for however many attacks that you did or did not do, you can drop this and it deals 20 damage to your opponent. So, and the damage cannot be reduced, so keep that in mind. So, That is my up-to-date Thunder Empire deck, one of my favorite decks to play. Just love bots, love the Thunder Empire deck and how it plays and how it works. So if you have any suggestions for it, guys, I'm always love to hear your suggestions and ideas. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, thumbs up this video for me, and I will see you later.